So today we're talking with Kyle Keffer. He has really a very interesting story. He had a very illustrious career in sales and did amazing things out in industry. And then he decided that he wanted to help others, and he educated himself and was able to get licensed as a therapist to help people in various ways. And he has some specialties within his training that he uses to really transform people's lives. And the reason why we're talking to Kyle today is to have his take on why engineers and other professionals really don't take control of their careers and they remain really underpaid when they should be making much more than they're making. So, Kyle, welcome. Really glad you're here. Really good to see you, brother.
Thank you, Rick. It's good to be here.
So, why don't we start with the obvious question, which is why do highly intelligent professionals capable of just doing great things in their career and accomplish amazing things, why do they struggle to advocate for themselves financially?
Hmm. Well, that's a really good question. And there are a couple of answers, but the most common one is fear.
Mm,
Fear that one, they may be rejected, told no, and then what do they do?
yeah.
But also just the fear of putting yourself out there, or the fear that, well, maybe I'm really not worth that. And so
Mm,
there is several internal psychological states that could be holding somebody back from having the confidence necessary to step into the conversation that says, "Hey, I've been looking around and I've been seeing other people make more than what I'm making, or even not even that. It may be just that, I'm doing such a great job. I really think my value is higher. Can we have that conversation?" And so there is a fair bit of, you know, fear that goes along with that. And some of it's healthy fear, of
yeah.
course. We all
Yeah.
want to keep our job.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. That's
Um,
right.
we don't want to overstate things, and there is a level at which once you start down that path, you really can't go back.
Yeah.
You've already asked, now it's out there. They're going to be evaluating you based on that. So it's a couple of things to think about.
Yeah. The psychological aspects of fear are holding people back.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
that that's a great insight. No one wants to lose their job because of the things that are going on at work when they ask for a raise, right? The dynamic might change, right?
Right.
Um, and how real do you think that dynamic fear is? Is that a reasonable fear? Or is it a rational fear, or is it really more irrational? That someone is fearful of something more than they should be because the likelihood is low. How would you talk about that, based upon your knowledge of the human psyche?
Sure. Well, I'm going to give you a typical therapist answer. Yeah, it's both. um, so, there is a rational fear that, you even stated, we want to keep our jobs. So we have to be aware of the environment we're in. Okay. So
Yeah.
there are sometimes we get so internally focused that we are externally blind.
Mm,
And so if your company's going through a transition, or if your company's just recently lost a massive contract, or the economy is not really in a place, then you have to consider all of that in as part of the actual physical reality of whether or not you should be
mm,
asking for something like that. And even while you may feel like you deserve more, this might be a time to say, okay, I'm coming alongside my company. I'm just going to continue to do the work and have a conversation with my boss that says, here's what I'm thinking, but here's why I'm not saying anything, or something like that. I'm going
mm.
to come down on the side always as a therapist, that communication is the key to everything.
Ah,
Communication is key to relationship, period, you can carry that. I mean, we tend to do a lot of thinking, and then expect everybody else to know what's going on inside there. And
Yes.
unfortunately, that's not the case. But the other side of that coin is that there is likely a psychological set of fear. I have a mirror in my office that says how you see yourself is
Mm.
how you will behave yourself.
Oh, wow. That's so powerful. My
Right.
goodness.
So I have clients stand in front of that mirror and we talk about that. And it's rather fascinating to see that some people, one, don't ever look in the mirror and really consider themselves,
Mm.
because then they start the fears of who they are, what they represent. If you have a lack of self-confidence, that will come out in everything you do.
Mm.
So there needs to be some internal looking, and that all, I mean, that comes from a whole list of sources, family of origin,
Mm.
trauma events, circumstances, relationships. All of those things tend to feed our internal confidence level, and that's going to be critical in um, deciding if and when to ask for a raise.
Wow, that's amazing. I can see how that's true. I've also thought about the fact of a person's personality and how their innate personality will affect their ability to have those difficult conversations. By nature, some people are more disagreeable, other people are more agreeable, and I've seen that the people who are more agreeable get along with everyone, but when it comes time to sticking up for themselves, they're not as vocal as maybe a person who's more disagreeable by nature
Mhm.
would maybe step into those kinds of difficult conversations with maybe with a little more aggression, or maybe or maybe just easier. It's easier for them to step into those kinds of conversations. So how much do you think that their innate kind of psychological makeup affects that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So if you happen to be what is commonly referred to as a pleaser,
Mm.
um, I'm going to raise my hand because I am one.
Hmm.
Um, then you will conduct your life, not just your job, but your life, trying to make everybody happy, and that all
Mm.
comes from, again, some of the life experiences you've had up to this point.
Hmm.
Um, I can get into a little bit more about the attachment theory a little bit more later, but
Mm.
uh, because that will contribute to this. But if you're a pleaser, you're going to not want to ruffle feathers, rock the boat,
Mm.
do anything that might cause somebody to be upset with you or disappointed in you. And so you'll just go around, okay, well, I probably just will just keep doing it. And you don't step into the conflict. The
Mm.
other term that comes up a lot for pleasers is conflict avoidant.
Ah.
So you will avoid a conflict at any cost. And
Mm.
that doesn't go well in most relationships, especially marriage relationships, and even in working relationships. If I go back to my communication point, is that you got to learn how to communicate things. Now, the challenge for a lot of people is learning how to communicate without losing emotional control,
Mm. Wow.
because
Yes.
we are emotional beings.
Hmm.
And when we're talking about something that's very important to us or that is threatening our sense of self, we can get very emotional, and you can withdraw, you
Hmm.
can break down,
Mm.
or you can move to anger. And
Mm.
for men, especially, anger is the typical weapon we grab hold of. And anger, from a psychological perspective, is really a secondary emotion. It comes after other things.
Mm.
And primarily, anger is the result of fear, hurt, or sadness.
Mm.
So when we feel some level of vulnerability, specifically as men, we will rise up and get angry, and because that causes everybody to step away and go, "Oh,
Yes.
we don't want to ruffle his feathers."
Hmm.
So we use that anger, but a lot of times that tool can come back to bite us.
Yes, the anger. I agree. That's if we allow ourselves to get angry, either internally, like let's say before you have that conversation with your boss about pay, then I think we lose when we allow that to happen, or especially during the conversation, if you allow anger to well up and spill over into the conversation, I think we lose in that too.
Mhm.
Um, there are times to be angry, and it's and I but having an angry conversation with your boss about your pay is probably a losing proposition. I would
One,
think.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great, great, great. So another thought that I've been thinking about relative to this topic that I think you would be just awesome to get your thoughts on is what's happening psychologically when someone knows they deserve a raise, but they still don't ask them. I know we've hit on this already, right? That it
Mhm.
that they're holding back because they have fear, maybe because they've got this personality that's more agreeable, this personality that avoids conflict. Um, what other kinds of things do you think might be going on psychologically that we could that our listeners could maybe get over, maybe a tool that they could use to get over those fears and step out in a way maybe that's a little bit uncomfortable for them.
Mhm. Okay. Outside of dealing with the fear that might be there, there might actually be some, deeper issues. If there's trauma in your life, um, and that hasn't been dealt with, then every single thing you do will process through the lens
Mm,
of that trauma. So
mm,
whatever it is, I'm not even gonna predict, but excuse me, but it whatever that is, that's something that I would suggest considering getting some help with in order
mm.
to uncork that, so that you're not constantly seeing everything through the lens of trauma. And
Wow.
again,
Yeah.
trauma is, we all hear about it, post-traumatic stress. And we all think, oh, post-traumatic stress, well, that's something soldiers have or the military. And the answer, well, that's a great example because those people, for reasons that they did not choose, have had things happen to them that
Yes.
affect them. But as you watch them, you're like, but I don't understand why that back there is, causing them so much grief now. Well, that's that trauma lens.
Mm,
When an unprocessed trauma is going on, then it will affect how we approach almost everything. And that's again takes us to that baseline of fear, a fear of our survival, fear of being rejected, fear of acceptance,
mm.
all of those things.
Wow. I could see how that's so important. I know that you're right. People think that trauma is something that is associated with soldiers. That's what I initially thought of, right? When I would hear that phrase. But we can experience trauma when we have an encounter with someone who's truly malevolent, someone
Mhm.
who's truly evil, and somehow we get caught in their web of pain, and once we do that, once we get caught in that web of pain, it's hard to get out of it, and then the results can linger for years, or I would imagine for a lifetime.
Mhm.
So I could see how trauma would really keep a person from being able to really maximize their value, maximize the pay that they receive, and the promotions that they know that they deserve in their careers because of trauma in their lives, trauma from family members, from people that they meet in business, people
Mhm.
that they
Former
may
employer, employee,
for,
former
for,
employer.
former employers. Oh my gosh, what a source of trauma for some
Yeah,
people.
man.
I have heard many horror stories of just abusive bosses, and it really does affect it. So I think you're right. I know that trauma can be, and until you've experienced it, right, being around a truly malevolent person and being on the receiving end of their evil, it's really hard to understand the depth that that can be. And I know that in your own practice, you've I'm sure have dealt with trauma and and help people work through that. Uh,
Yes.
and
Yes. Yeah, my specialty is as a licensed marriage and family therapist here in California, also in the state of Washington, but is trauma specifically, and then also addiction.
mm,
So, and those most of the times go hand in hand,
mm,
right? We find some type of addictive behavior to mask or deal with our unresolved trauma.
mm.
So a lot of times those go together. So I deal with both of those in my practice. And the there, while it's not called one, but that this fear of stepping out, the fear of having a conversation with somebody that we feel is either in a one-up position from
Hmm.
us, so boss or just a friend that has a power thing, or even in marriage, there's always that power struggle, and how we deal with that power struggle can certainly affect how we're going to behave. We will either shrink back in fear, or we will stand confident and establish a boundary. Now, a boundary is not a wall. It's not as say you stay on that side and I'll stay on this side. A boundary is a place where I end and then the next person begins.
Hmm.
And so you've got it, those are kind of fungible, but you can go back and forth a little bit, but it's an understanding of how far each of you will go. And that helps in terms of having a conversation that requires a level of negotiation.
Wow, yeah, that's you're dropping some wisdom bombs here, Kyle. This is awesome. I could imagine the benefit that your clients have from sessions with you. So this is maybe I need to have a session with you. So this is awesome. So so another question that I've really been thinking about is why is it that some professionals think that being good at their job equates with deserving recognition, and
Mm.
specifically, pay raises or those promotions that they know that they deserve, instead of being able to communicate the value. Why do they why do we as professionals tend to equate doing a good job with my boss is going to recognize that and reward me?
Right. Oh, well, here I go. It's mostly a social construct. We are
Mm,
somewhat taught that by our social engagements, and that level of you just ought to know how great I am and reward me for that
mm,
is a pervasive attitude in our society, even more so even now, I think, than ever before. It's that I deserve mentality. And then there's the um, you just should know how great I am and pay me for it. And then on top of that, we have the internet and social media, which almost foments that same philosophy because we see these people, influencers. What? Uh,
yeah.
we're all influencers, but these people are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money because they figured out how to use the system. Everybody else goes, well, I want to be that. So you know, I'm just, you know, not going to, I'm just going to do a little bit of stuff. And there are some, don't get me wrong, there are some influencers out there that do a fantastic job and deserve every penny.
Yes.
But then there's the ones that, they pop on and off, and for whatever reason, they've figured out how to use the ad system on our social media platforms. So I don't know. It's a little bit of both, but I would say at the end of the day, to answer your question, it's kind of a social construct that we're having to struggle with, and the only cure that I can really see for that is communication. Being able
Mm,
to sit down and talk and start from the perspective, this is what I'm feeling.
mm,
That's a very vulnerable place to start any conversation, but this is what I'm
yes.
feeling. This is what I'm noticing. What say you? And
Yeah.
allow the other person then to respond. And, if you can keep that conversation out of conflict, out of a power struggle, it will be a productive conversation.
Yeah. That's amazing. I had never really considered that the social construct is part of what causes people to think that their boss is going to see and notice what they're doing and
Mhm.
therefore reward them. But let's say you're up late at night finishing off that report, or if you're a scientist, you're in a lab doing tests out, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Your boss isn't there. He or she doesn't see that. And so they just don't really see the contributions that you're making, and they don't really see the impact you're having on the business. So I
Well, and that's the other part of the answer to that, Rick. I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the thing, too. You got to recognize that your boss is just like you. So your boss is sitting at home or sitting in his office going, I wonder if the people above me see how great I am. And so
Mm,
he's looking up.
yeah,
Looking up. So everybody's looking up, and we're all got, but they got to be seeing me, right? No, everybody is worried about them. So that's
yeah,
the first thing
yep.
that we kind of have to think about. And then you brought up a really good point. How is it that engineers, or anybody for that matter, can communicate their value? This will be probably one of the times, only the one I can think of, where I'm going to say it's not about you. And I don't want you to start with an I statement. What I want you to do is you have to think about your boss
Mm,
and your boss's boss.
mm,
And that's the value you need to point at. These are the things, if I continue to do this high level of work, your job is secure, your project gets done on time,
mm,
your project gets done in budget, all of these things, but you have to put it in terms of what the value is to your boss, not what
mm.
your value is to you and how great you are, and I need to be rewarded for that, because your boss will go, yeah, no, I'm looking up.
Wow, you're dropping just wisdom bombs here. This is pure gold, Kyle. I know that this is going to be of immense value to many people. So I know that you had a career prior to the great work you're doing in people's lives with your counseling that you're providing. I know that you had another period of your life. Would you mind describing it? And the reason why I'm asking is because I think that your background gives you a perspective that not all counselors have. You have a perspective on business. You have a perspective on family. You have I think tools that are unique that make you so valuable to people. So could you just describe? Because when I heard your background, I was like, "You're kidding me," right? So if you could describe it, I think it would be very helpful.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Rick. Absolutely. Actually, I came out of school with a computer science degree, and went into sales and was in sales for 26 years for several different corporations. I sold software, services, and hardware. So I, was the entire gamut of the industry. And for some very, Fortune 100, Fortune 10 companies, and rose up in that world and as a sales manager and as a director, yeah, for the country at one time, several regions. Yeah, I've been in sales and had a book of clients that I had to manage, and then eventually a book of salespeople that I had to manage and hire, and and revenue objectives to hit. So I did that for about 26 years, and then back in the mid 2000s, when the technology industry was kind of in a level of turmoil, I took a long, hard look at what I was doing, and did I want to continue to be selling and be in the technology world, which was going so fast and it was making my head spin, and it still does. Or can I do something with the human heart and really begin to minister into people's lives, which had been a long time desire of mine. And I liked doing it as a sales manager, but I thought, let's try something else. And so that was the impetus that moved me towards psychology. I did a couple of personality tests, and they're like, yeah, one, you like to talk, no duh, and two, you like people. So I thought I gotta meld those, and so I went back to school in my midlife and got my master's degree in clinical psychology, and then opened my own private practice. So um, and that's something I usually like to tell people is that come into my office. I get 20 something year olds, early 30s coming in. My life's over. I'm stuck in my job, or I can't get a new job, right? And I'm just, there's nothing more I can do. And I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, you're never too old. You can always absolutely change the direction of your career. You just have to decide to do it. And we're back to addressing that little fear bomb.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
that.
going to school when you're 50 was, I'll tell you what, there was plenty of fear in there.
Oh, yeah, I know. I did that too. I went back to university as a mature adult. What you've outlined here in your career is incredible. Computer scientist, uh, uh, top salesman in selling technology items, then transitioning into helping people with their lives as a counselor, and really impacting people at an amazing level. Really, you have the opportunity to transform people's lives, and heal things like we were talking about earlier. Trauma from malevolent people that we encounter in life. So what a great story, Kyle. You have a perspective and a background that I think is so valuable these days, and that's why I think you benefit so many people's lives. And what's the name of your practice? How would someone get a hold of you?
No, thank you. It's Kyle Keffer Counseling
Mm,
.com. So just Kyle Keffer Counseling, no space.com.
mm.
That's my website. And from there, you can ask me questions. You can reach out. You can actually book an appointment. And it will walk through all the different things that um, I do from that site.
Awesome. I'll put that in the description of the YouTube video. And I know that my viewers are going to really appreciate your insights. And my viewers are technical people who want to improve their careers, who have capabilities, but they're not recognized, like we've been discussing, by their bosses, and they haven't received those pay raises and those promotions that they deserve. So thank you for your insights. And you and I are, of course, friends. We hang out together at a Bible study that we both go to on Tuesday evenings, and it's really awesome to spend this time with you, Kyle. I look forward to our next conversation. So God bless you, brother, and thanks again. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're welcome.